Hello and welcome to Springboard Media's ActivTips. Today we're going to take a look at Bloom's taxonomy through flipcharts. How are flipcharts different than PowerPoints? Well, I think a lot of times when people are presenting PowerPoints, they kind of want to be further away from the information, and it takes the personal interaction out of the information. However, a flipchart is all about the interaction. So here I set this up so that when you click here, it's spinning this wheel. You could also have a student come up and add things to the page. In a flipchart, not everything has to already be on the page. You could have students add their own ideas, annotate over things, or even send in responses using learner response devices. There are 6 key ways that people set up their flipcharts: drag and drop, hide and reveal, movement or animation, color, shading and highlighting, matching items, or student feedback and voting. Thanks David Weitzel for showing me these 6 key interactive whiteboard interactions. Let's take a look at how you can use these different ways to set up your flipchart, as well as Bloom's taxonomy. So Bloom's taxonomy goes from remembering up to creating. And I think there's a lot of good resources out there for some of the lower level skills. I think when we get into the higher level skills, this is where we need to bring in other programs and applications and really blend our learning. So I'm going to take us through different flipcharts that each show a different level of Bloom's taxonomy. And I picked a social studies lesson about mapping. So in this one we have the drag and drop, where a student can match the continents to where they belong. And we also have the hide and reveal, where you can use the transparency slider to reveal the answers. This is definitely a lower level taxonomy where we're looking at remembering where are these continents located. Here's another example of remembering, but now we're matching flags to the countries. And you can set this up to also then have containers, so there can be a specific right answer as a hide and reveal, or a matching. Here I think we're getting into a little bit higher level with understanding, where you'd want the students to size the words to fit the relative size of each continent. So when they clicked on the words, a text box would come up along the top where they can make the text bigger based on how big that continent was. Here I'm taking a look at applying. We're trying to compare and contrast differences between 2 different types of maps. So the slider here would allow you to pause at points and have students reflect on how the different types of maps change the continent size, the continent spacing, the ocean size, and relative location of each continent. Moving up in the taxonomy, here we're taking a look at how the positions of the plates are related to the positions of the continents. And I've set this up with layers so that when you use the magic eraser, you can see where the plates are underneath. You can now bring up a link to a map like this that shows you the plates, as well as the approximate location of earthquakes and the location of volcanoes. And now you're analyzing how the plates are affecting earthquakes and volcanoes. Further in analyzing, you can embed HTML or web links, and here you're looking at how the continents have changed over time. To ActivInspire, I'm going to click on Insert, Link, HTML. And now this creates an interactive browser right in my flipchart. Here we're looking at moving up the Bloom's taxonomy to looking at evaluating. And this is an image I got from mint.com. It's a map showing the world's resources by country. And there's a bunch of different things I think you could do with this in your flipchart. For one, you can track your page zoom. I set up an action here, but page zoom is actually up here in the View menu. View, Page Zoom. And when I check this on, I can now see that instead of a cursor, I have a magnifying glass. And if I click and hold, it's actually going to zoom in on different parts of this for me. And if I click and move, now I'm moving the image around. It doesn't keep zooming in. On your computer, you can hold the control click, or with a 300 series board or above, with the newer pens, you can hold the button down, and that'll let you zoom out. You can also go up to the top, and you can also click on the top of your ActivInspire window and go back to best fit. Another thing you could do here would be to use your spotlight. When you're using Page Zoom, make sure you go back to the selector tool, otherwise you'll get really frustrated that it keeps zooming in. So try out your spotlight, which will allow you to highlight just certain parts of an image. You can make a square spotlight, a solid circular spotlight, or a solid square, and you can take a snapshot of what's inside. Another thing you want to think about when you're looking at images is your menu for the objects. So if I click on this object, I don't have this locked so that I can actually just move it around the page. But if I was going to be annotating over it, I might want to lock it. Then I wouldn't be able to move that background image. Here you can also look at those same marquee handles and set up drag a copy. So now I can see when I hold over here, I have a hand with a green plus, and every time I click, it's making a new bar of gold. So I could create another map where I was matching what fits on this map to where it was on that map, and maybe scale the resources to show what percentage of the world's resources they have. Also, in terms of evaluating, there's some really great websites that you can embed or add in. For example, here's Gapminder, which has this great service that looks at data and how it changes over time. I just embedded the link here because you can't actually embed this HTML yet. However, you could put a desktop flip chart over it and then start taking notes as well. So it animates a graph over time, and you can select certain countries to look at. You can select different indicators. You can take a look at it as a graph or as a map. And you can, of course, pause this at any point and have students discuss what they think is happening. Another way you can create higher level thinking in your flip charts would be to use your learner response devices and create a before and after anticipation reaction guide. This is a really great website. And then access a resource which is going to help students answer the questions. Take a look at their responses before and compare them to their responses afterwards. When we look at creating, let's look at some of the tools available. On your computer, you can use VoiceThread. Or you could record a podcast in GarageBand or Audacity. You could also allow students to download the free version of ActivInspire and create their own flip charts to share with the class. If you have an iPad, you can use EduCreations to add images and then record your voices on the iPad. Thanks so much for watching today's Active Tip. Springboard Media offers a wide range of professional development courses and workshops for teachers. We also have some summer workshops coming out that are 1 or 2 day workshops in Philadelphia. Check out our website for more information.